Hey everyone, welcome into episode 4 of Tivoli Zoo, and just wanted to start off where we left off in the last episode, where we basically spent the entire time working on all of this infrastructure in front of the zoo here. You know, I hope it was entertaining and worth watching. I mean, as I'm working on it, this kind of thing, like I said, it's definitely tedious and time consuming, but I do feel like the end result is well worth it. So hopefully you enjoyed the last episode as well. In this episode, we're going to go back to this area over here. I want to finish this building. It's like an indoor observatory into this exhibit and then this exhibit here. I need to do more rock work, and I'm thinking I would like to get, there's like a research center here that I would like to get put in, and then I would like to finish this this restaurant right here, but we'll see. I don't know how much time I'll have and how much progress I'll make. This building I've already kind of started to work on, and it's kind of more difficult than I was anticipating it. I'll pull up the Google Earth of it here. Okay, so this is the building at the Denver Zoo, and it's kind of a weird shape. I mean, it doesn't really have any, it's not like it's a square, but it's not just a square building. That's a lot easier to work with. It's got all kinds of different angles and stuff. I'm not going to copy it exact because there's just not enough reference images, and even the street view isn't all that clear of most of this. So I'm just basing it off of this and then some of the street view and getting it as close as I can, but I'm not going to worry about getting it exact. But the interesting thing I did learn about the Denver Zoo since the last episode, and specifically this exhibit here, so this area is called Predator Ridge, and it was pretty cutting edge at the time that they finished it. It was designed to be kind of a rotating habitat. So even though in Tivoli Zoo this is the space for the lions, Denver Zoo also has hyenas and wild dogs, and I believe a cheetah, but I think they're scaling down the amount of animals that they're going to be having in the zoo. So anyway, this whole exhibit here, so this little pen, this main one, and this side pen were all designed to be rotating. So you could one day theoretically have the lions in here, the next they could be over here, you could have the hyenas or the wild dogs. My exhibit is obviously not going to be rotating, but I have decided to switch this animal to cheetah. So mainly because I like cheetahs a lot more so than hyenas or wild dogs. And it'll be a nice long exhibit, so they'll be able to run a lot. And since the Denver Zoo is going to be scaling down the amount of animals that they currently have, I figured that would be an okay choice, because that may be what they end up doing. So anyway, like I said, this whole center was designed to be a rotating exhibit. This little pen over here I'll probably do, but I'm not going to put an animal in there. I think mainly they use that for, if there was like lion cubs or something and they needed to separate a male from the cubs, they might put them in there and kind of separate them from the rest of the group. So I'm going to finish that, but it's not gonna house an animal. But the beginning part here we'll work on trying to get this building in. Mainly I'm mostly concerned about the scale and the positioning of it, because this sort of edge here going off in this direction is the other side of the first part of the African savanna. So it's kind of crucial to get the scale right and at least the positioning right, because like this set the edge for this and this sets the edge for the next thing. That's kind of how we're going to keep building, so that we're maintaining scale and then also just making sure that we're on track to be able to implement the master plan. Okay, making some progress here on this structure. I'm really pleased with this giant glass wall here. It might be a little bit too tall relative to the inspiration. I can't remember the last time I went to the Denver Zoo how tall this glass was, so I might put in some of this wood paneling here just to raise it up a little bit, but make sure that obviously kids can still look over, which right now she's looking through her mom's butt, but she seems to be pretty psyched about the baby lions too. And this is exactly what I was hoping for when I built this exhibit, because this is exactly what it's like at the Denver Zoo. You know, I'm not sure if it's two-way glass or not. I think it is two-way. I'm pretty sure the lions can like see in there, but I did put a little bed thing here, so the lions will actually, I don't know if they'll do it while we're on video here, but they'll actually come and lay down right here, right by the glass, which is like the first time I ever came to this exhibit is exactly what I remember. It's like burned into my memory of walking into this room and just seeing the lions, you know, kind of sunbathing in this area here was so cool. So yeah, the overall direction the building's going, I really like. I think it's pretty true to the source material. Like I said, it's not exact, which I'm okay with. It was a difficult building to make. You can see here all of this is kind of janky down here, which I'm gonna cover most of this with rockwork, so I'm okay with some of the stuff sticking out here. But the inclined roof in two different directions, so it's angled this way and then angled this way, so that was a little bit tricky, and all things considered, I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. And especially the rock work up here and this little pool, which they can use for drinking. I think all of it is looking pretty solid. So I spent the bulk of the last play session working on this boundary here. You know, like I said, this area is crucial from the standpoint that it sets the edge for the African savanna over here, and the first land bridge, which ignore my first attempt at. That's awful. I'm gonna have to use the track ride, but you get an idea. That's kind of what's gonna happen. And then what this land bridge does is it allows the keepers to access the African savanna, and then also the animals to be brought back into holding buildings back over here. So the interesting thing about the Denver Zoo is it's more long than it is wide. So once we get into here, this path kind of curves up this way, and then there's the African elephant exhibit is like right in here. It's pretty massive, but other than that, like, probably just guessing this edge right here will be the back edge of the zoo, and then it's City Park for Denver is the rest of this. So I'm gonna have a good amount of room on the backside here, which is nice because I do want to put in, there's a gorgeous pavilion that looks over this lake in the park that I want to put in, and then potentially, if you know performance isn't an issue, I want to build the Denver Museum of Nature and Science over here. And then similar to what we did on the front edge, we'll probably put in like a main road here with some buildings and stuff that line the road that way. So yeah, I'm fairly pleased with the scale that I've been able to maintain so far. I think working in chunks like this and sort of making sure that you get the scale down of one area before moving on to the next is really helping with that. But I did have a little bit of a cheetah escape here, so I need to do some more terrain work and make this area a little bit wider here, because they just walked up to this edge and then jumped over. But yeah, all the peeps are a big fan of the cheetahs, clearly. One thing I did want to make note of is I really, really wish that these were not just for the those little, what are they called? Exhibits. With like the snakes and the bugs and all that stuff. I would love if they could do this so that we can use these for any exhibit, because this is very common. You walk into one and there's usually a little placard here, and I did want to add additional screens just because, if there's a lot of people and you did want to read, you'd have multiple opportunities to read about the animal, and then put in some educational stuff back here. I'll probably make some custom benches because the path underneath this floor is really wonky, and so the benches, if I put them in, would look really weird. So I might make some custom ones where you could sit here and really just watch the animals if you wanted to. You can tell that these people have already seen the lions because they have no interest really of coming over here and watching this lion laying right in front of the glass. It's just funny how the peeps' brains work in the game. But yeah, so I'm going to keep working on this exhibit here. Lots of rock work to do. And then hopefully once I wrap that up, I can move into working on some of these buildings over here. And taking a dump right on cue. I think every animal so far that I've shown on an episode has pooped in the middle of one of those cuts, so perfect timing. Yeah, just working on more of this rock work. Again, trying to make it look realistic, but also like it's man-made, that it's just kind of really plaster over like a mesh frame or something like that. So I think they're doing the job there. I do think they look fairly natural, hopefully. And what I do like a lot is how they're kind of just a part of this building. It really gives you the sense that you're kind of, even though it's a building, that you're kind of heading into a cave to observe these animals in their natural habitat. So I think this exhibit is pretty much finished up now. I'll probably... Oh, no, that's not true. I need to do some rock work over here. But other than that, I think it's pretty much done. I may still tweak like the terrain paints and stuff like that, and add some more bushes and trees like I did here. But overall, really, really happy with how it turned out. And I mean, that's so cool. It's so awesome that Frontier made a game that this is possible. This is like exactly what I was hoping I would be able to do, and the fact that it works and the peeps interact the way they do and the animals come right up to it, it's just so awesome. So big shout out to the developers over at Frontier for making such an awesome game. Making a few tweaks here to this building. The interior, the art-shaped ceiling just felt kind of weird to me, and I was kind of stuck on what to do with it. I didn't know if I should put in some beams or change the material or the texture. And I shared a couple pics with Mike Sheets, and he suggested putting in some skylights, which I think have helped tremendously. I think I'm going to probably ditch this center one so that it's just got 4. We'll see. I'm going to try it both ways and see which looks best, but I do think that it helps a ton in the interior here, especially as you watch like the times of day change. I mean, it just creates a really cool effect where it lights up the room and it doesn't feel so dark anymore. This would really help too from the standpoint of not having to have a ton of lights in here during the daytime. Also, Mr. Domez, the same guy who did the cool Backstage set that's on the workshop that I linked in the last video with like the dumpsters and stuff like that, has done an air conditioning set. So I did put a couple of air conditioning units on top of the roof there, and then I did spend some time working on adding his set to this warehouse building here and this main building right here. I mean, these things are incredible. It's got these air conditioning units. He's got 2 different sizes of them, and all kinds of different, they're kind of modular. So you can see, you can kind of make the ductwork do whatever you want. And it just, again, these little details add so much realism, especially when you're up in the air. I mean, my number one priority is making sure that the peep view looks good, that, when you're at peep level, everything around you looks good, and it's exactly what you would expect if you were walking around the zoo. But you're also going to be up in the air like this, and these things just really sell the idea that this is a real functioning place. So thank you so much for that set, man. These things are incredible. Keep them coming, because that kind of stuff is super helpful. And we got a baby cheetah. God, the babies in this game are so cute. Even my wife, who's not a big video game fan, is really impressed and amazed by the animals in this game. I mean, I can't believe the work that went into these things. It's incredible. Sometimes I just stand back and watch the animals in these things. It's really cool. So one thing that I've worked on here is trying to paint in, I think Jaunty is where I saw it. I can't remember. I watched so many zoo videos, but I think Jaunty was really trying to paint in some lines where the animals would typically walk. So I've just been kind of watching their movements and where they run and all that kind of stuff, and I've been trying to paint it in and make it look like the grass is worn down in those areas. I still need to do that for the lion exhibit, but I'm kind of waiting for them to put in an option where we can toggle off that kind of thing before I really get in, because right now their habitat is like perfect for all of the different textures. So the big change from the last cut was all of this rock work here. So again, wanting it to look fake, but also like something you would see in the wild. So hopefully I'm on the right track with all this stuff here. I really enjoy this segment here, just especially all the way back from here. It just gives you a sense that, you know, this is a natural place, and I'll make sure that I do some more rock work like this on this ridge right here, because right now this is like just all trees in the Denver Zoo, but as a part of the master plan, this land bridge comes kind of down here, and then there's a little sort of V section where the animals come like this and then go up into holding areas. So there will actually probably be Savannah animals in this little segment right here. So I will, thankfully you can't really see the retaining wall. I'll probably put in some rock work here though to hide that, and then we'll put some up here as well, just to make it really, when you're in this room, it'll really feel like all of this is one seamless habitat, all the way to this land bridge up here. All right, took a little bit of a break from the habitats over here to work on some more of this detailing stuff in this backstage. Again, this is more stuff from Mr. Domez, these little power lockers here, and wanted to put some cabling up to the roof and then just kind of dot that around the roof as well. And then for these water pumps, I tried to make them look more like holding tanks. You know, I'm not sure how convincing it is. I think these pipes are probably a little bit large, but just doing what I can to try to hide these facilities. Today actually there was an update that now we can turn these things off in sandbox mode, which is great. You know, I don't really mind them in the designated backstage areas. Like, I'm probably going to continue to use them in these areas, just because I think it's cool to have the mechanics come and fix them and work on them and stuff, and then you know, actually have functioning facilities back here. The problem with these though, and why I'm glad they turned it off as a requirement, is I ended up having like a black hole of power right here where none of these signs in this exhibit were lighting up, because there was like a power ring over here and then like in this area, but it was just kind of, oh god, someone got out. Is it the cheetahs? Yep. Oh man. Yeah. So I'll deal with that in a minute. Clearly I need to do something with these walls over here, because I think they just jumped out this way. So I'll have to probably take this ridge down. But anyway, yeah, so like I said, I don't mind these facilities and designated backstage areas like this over here as well. But having to plop them down in the middle of nowhere was annoying, so thank you for updating that, Frontier. I know a lot of people are happy with that change. Okay, so finished up this rock work on the exterior of this building, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I was really challenged by this structure. I mean, you can see this now compared to that Google satellite image I showed earlier. You know, it's just kind of a wonky building. It's a weird shape. The only thing that's somewhat normal about it is these edges here that look out into the exhibit. So I'm very, very pleased with how it turned out. And yeah, I honestly didn't know how it was going to look. There was a few minutes there where it was touch and go and things just weren't working and coming together, but really pleased with the final result here. In between working on this rock work, because a person can only mess around with the rocks for so long, I started doing some of this terrain work over here for this land bridge. So this is much better than what it was before. You know, I'd like this to be a little bit shorter even if I could, but the problem is you still have to have a decent enough height here for people to walk under and actually get a path to work. So now I can, and what I did, so I had this height here and I had the ground level here, but there wasn't enough space. If I have the terrain go across here, there wasn't enough space to get a path in. The game wouldn't let me, so I just created a very gradual slope down here, and then same thing, we'll do a very gradual slope up here, and then I started to kind of map out where the African savanna will be. So there's two very large yards here. There's going to be an animal hospital here, and then this is really where the exhibit starts. Up here there's like an educational auditorium, and then there will be another land bridge right about here, so animals can go into this yard and even make their way over this bridge into this little area. So it's going to be a massive exhibit once they actually finish it. You can see relative to the size of the lions, and I've tried to scale this based on the concept art off of the scale of this. So and then I think I mentioned this before in another episode, but I used the length of this parking garage to measure out my how much room I really have in the zoo heading this direction. So this may not be 100%, and I might scale it down just a tad to make sure, because there's a whole like primate area down in here, and I really want to make sure that I don't infringe on that and leave myself enough space on this edge of the zoo. Alright, so now I've got this path in here. I'm pretty much finished with the terrain work. It's again got a really nice gradual slope down. The land bridge is looking fantastic. I'm going to make it pretty new looking. I think this is probably similar to the style that they're going for, at least in the concept art I've looked at. And then this I'm going to hold off on until I really have the edges of this habitat done, and then I'll get in and I'll fine tune the habitat itself, because I believe it's got tiers within these habitats. So there's like all of the elevation is kind of higher in the center, and then it kind of slopes down to the path from there, so that when you're on the sidewalk looking in, you get different tiers and different levels of animals, and hopefully they feel hidden but aren't hidden from you. I think that's the logic behind the design. So yeah, got it coming around here. This will be the edge of the savanna, and then right on the other side of this is going to be the Indian elephant exhibit here. All right, I was hoping to get more done on this stuff in this episode, but this is the Education and Research Conservation Center that is at the Denver Zoo. It's called the Gates Center. I'm not sure what name I'm going to give it, because I don't want everything to be... Oh God, did someone else get out? I think the cheetahs got out again. Anyway, I need to work on that. I haven't touched it since they keep getting out, but yeah, this is shaping up to be pretty dang close to the inspiration material. I didn't make it quite as long. It's actually a lot longer than this, but I felt like I was going to be, lining it up with the garage here. I felt like if I made it the actual length, that it would be getting me sort of out of whack on the scale. So that's one of those examples where we're just taking a little bit of creative liberty and making sure that I'm going to be able to operate within the boundaries of the map here. I just spent way too much time making custom letters for this conservation and education sign down here, but I do think they look really good. I may do a full font set on these and release them. But this font set is from Rycie, who is a member of the Bro Nation Discord, and she's got an entire set of fonts that I will link in the description below, because things like this go a very, very long way to selling realism. And I it's relatively simple sign, but I think it really makes this building pop, and really immediately lets you know what its purpose is. These planters here, I again just copied from the Google Street View. One of the cool things about this building is it's got this sort of downstairs area that you can access from this main path here, and I put in a wheelchair ramp, and then it's got they're very steep stairs, so I need to put in a railing, and this is honestly like how steep they are in real life. They're crazy. So I'm gonna put in some railings and stuff on both ends here, but I do feel like the ramp is at least nice and gradual. And I don't think I'm going to get to it this episode, but this is going to be that restaurant I keep talking about. I just haven't jumped into it yet, but that's probably going to have to wait for the next episode. We'll clean this area up before we get into the African savannah, but I do want to finish this as much as I can. So there's a whole like huge research building on the back of this, and then this plaza here needs pathwork, and then on the other side of this is where the hospital is, and then that auditorium that looks down into the African savannah. So finally getting to the thing that I'm probably most excited about in this project, which is this huge savannah here. And especially there's a building down here that's like a restaurant that really it has like a watering hole in front of it that's really, really cool, and I can't wait to get to that. All right, so the back side of this, well, I guess this is the side of the research center, is done and finished this building. It was nice to finally work on something that was pretty simple. I mean, it's just a big square essentially. The only thing that took a little bit of time was just doing these little awnings for these windows, which I just was able to do one and then copy it around. And then this took a decent amount of time. This is all windows as walls, hashtag windows as walls. These are, let's see, I've used, what are these ones? Planet Zoo window, and I've used some of the Asian set as well. They're recolorable, and so they are really versatile in how they can be used as wall pieces. And then tried to make this look like an automatic door. Hopefully it sells that, but absolutely thrilled with how this building turned out. I looked at the Google satellite image of it, and I think it's pretty much dead on to what the real thing is. It might be this section might be a little overscaled relative to these two, but again, I'm not going to nitpick it that much. I'm really pleased with how it looks here. All right, so I think we'll wrap it up there for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and then I will see you guys in the next episode.